So to begin, we'll be getting the shoulder measurement. Her shoulder measurement is 8, as you can see. Then I'll be going down by 8.5 for the armhole region. You get that. You get the neckline. In the neckline, I'm using 3 by 3. That is the standard. Then we'll alterate the neckline later. So 3 by 3. Then for the shoulder slope, you come down by 1 inch. Mind you, the reason for shoulder slopes is because our shoulder is not straight. That's why we go for shoulder slope. So this is me trying to get the armhole perfectly. Then the middle, after getting my shoulder slope, what I have is 7.5. So the middle, I'll go in by 0.5 inches. You can also go in by 0.75. It's optional on what you want to do. So after doing that, I'm just going to mark the regular parts. That is my bust point, my shoulder to the under bust, the shoulder to the half length, the shoulder to the belly button. Now, this is a madam blouse. This is an igbo blouse. Mind you, what you always use the client's hip measurements. You always use the client hip measurements for the base. That is the down part of the blouse, so that when the client is putting it on, it wouldn't end up be too tight for them at the hip part. Remember, because it's the down part, it usually descends. You wouldn't be using the waist or the belly button measurement, but the hip measurement. Take note of that. So I've marked the important parts. I'm just trying to connect them together. So after connecting it together, I'm trying to label it, which you can see. And now remember, the tutorial is about how to cut a madam blouse for a plus size. That is, the difference between the client's under bust and the half length is not going to be much. They do not have so much. So I'm just going to be using 1 inch for this client. The difference between our under bust and our half length is just 1 inch. So it's not going to be much because immediately their stomach starts to protrude. It's not like a slim client that has a flat waist from their under bust going to down the belly button. It's flat. So please, you take note of this because it's very vital while cutting a madam blouse for plus size clients. So her nipple to nipple point is 9. So on fold is going to be 4.5. So this is me marking down the 4.5. So I've marked them down, the nipple to nipple point 4.5. So this is the standard block that we need. This is the basic block that we need. So I'm just going to go ahead to mark, because the style is having a yoke, I'm going to go ahead to mark the line that I want the yoke to stop. She's plus size, so it wouldn't make sense to make it 6 inches. It would be too small. So I'm just going to go ahead to make it about 8. I was actually checking it out on my body so I can determine what to use. So I ended up using 8. That is like 8.5 rather, what I used for the armhole. I ended up making use of that for her yoke. So this, I marked it, then I labeled that part, the yoke. So once you've gotten that, I'll be connecting the neckline. I will now do the correct neckline that I want. Remember, we made mention of this 3 by 3 is the standard. Whatever neckline you then want, you get it out later, and that is why I'm using my orange color to highlight it there, my orange color marker to highlight it. Now, from the picture, you can also see that it is not exactly on her shoulder. So I'll be going in by 1 inch by her shoulder, and I'll be connecting it together. I'm connecting it to the armhole. Connecting it to the armhole is almost like an halter neck, but it isn't an halter neck. So once that is done, the next is for me to get the darts, to do the darts intake. next is for me to do the dart intake. So for this, I'll be taking 2.5 inches for the left hand side and then 1 inch for the right hand side because I want it to pack very, very well. Two and then one, two and then one. This is two and then one. Can you see? So that was what I did. Then for the up part, I'm going to take it 1/2 inch as well for the left hand side because I don't used to like when my bustiers point so much. Then as you can see, I marked 1.5 for the right hand side. Can you see that? 1/2 inch and then 1.5, so that it would end up not point so much. This is how I prefer it to be. Now I'm going to connect it straight up. That is, I'm darting the yoke. Darting this yoke will help us avoid gappings or gapings, so to say, while this outfit is being worn, because most times even after that making yoke there used to be gaping. So once you dart this yoke, you won't have gapings. Then I went in by 2.5 for the bust dart. Remember, remember, for you to get the difference between the person's bust dart, you measure the front and the back. So for this client, her difference is 2.5 inches, which I marked. Then my next thing is to connect down. Amongst the difference between a plus size client and a slim client is that you have to slant it back the way you see me do. I don't have to take it straight. There's really no need of taking it straight because she doesn't have a straight body, but her body protrudes, so you slant it back. So this is how to go about it. So this is me trying to get the sewing allowance for the blouse. So after getting the waist, I connected it to my hip region and to my bust region. Don't forget to subscribe and give my video a thumbs up. And you can also let me how it went in the comment section. Now, for you to get the shaping of the bust dart, did you notice that I closed it? Yes, so it's always nice for you to close it. Closing it will help you to get a correct effect so that one part will not end up being so small or too big. So this is how you do it. Now the shaded part, if you're a beginner, the shaded part is what we'll be cutting off. The shaded part is what we'll be cutting off from the outfit. Now I'm going to go ahead to cut the back. The back, we'll be leaving the zip allowance first. Cutting the zip allowance, you can leave 1 inch, you can leave 1.5 inches, it's up to you. So I'm marking out my zip allowance, as you can see. Now, after marking the zip allowance, we're still going to do the standard. That is, you get apart from getting the shoulder, you get 3x1 for the neckline. But remember, it's not always this way that you work with. It's just a standard and what to use to alterate. This is what we'll just use to alterate whatever design of neckline that you'll be needing at the end of the day. So I'm marking the same thing I had for the front to the back. That's the armhole. So I've marked it. Now for the back armhole, you are just going to get the armhole. You don't need to take anything inside for the back armhole. You can check the front and you check the back. You see that they are not the same thing. You don't need to take anything inside. Now I'll be marking my half length and the under busts. Marking the half length and the under busts. That is just the only thing needed for this. The back is actually always simple. It's always simple. There's really no much work on it, except you have some designs you want to do or some style lines you want to follow for the back. If not, it's just for you to get this part out. Then we'll be marking the dart intake. And of course, I use 9 inches for the back. So I'm going to be using 9 inches for the front. That is, I'm marking 4.5 inches on fold. Now, once that is done, in the underbust region, I'm going to be taking 0.75 to the left hand side and 0.75 to the right hand side. I use the underbust because that is the smallest part of the client's body. I use the underbust 0.75 to the left, 0.75 to the right, and then connect it as you can see me do. So I'm almost done. The next is for me to get the length. Remember, we took 2.5 inches for the bust dart for the front. So whatever you take for the bust dart of the front, you remove it from the length of your back blouse. You remove it. If not, your back is going to be longer while shaping. So since I removed 2.5, that is what I'm taking away. 2.5 inches. So the back blouse is going to be shorter than the front blouse with 2.5 inches. But when the client puts it on, it's going to fit all through. So I've placed my paper. I'm trying to show us how it's going to be. See, after closing the bust that my paper is equal. Can you see? Yes. But if I leave it opened, it's not equal. You take note of that. So I'm just going to get the neckline that I use for the back, for the front. I'm just going to get it for the back. I removed 1 inch because of the style, like I explained initially. I removed 1 inch from the shoulder part, almost like an altar neck. Then you connect. So for the yoke, the back will be having a yoke too. For the yoke, we need to learn to understand that you can play around the yoke. You can play around it. But because the style is going to have feathers round, I don't really need to do so much design on it because feathers is going to cover it. So I just went down by about 5 inches. Then I connected the armhole part as well, which you can see from here. And voila, we are almost through. Just marking out the part I want for the yoke, which is the same armhole region. That is 8 inches. The same shoulder to the chest line. Anyway, so I'm also trying to get the allowance. I'm also trying to get the allowance and then mark it down. So this is it. Making Igbo blouses is actually very simple. It's very simple. It's usually like a normal blouse. The difference is that it's lace. Difference is that there is lace because this is how we sew our Ankara blouse normally. Difference is that there is lace, in my opinion, anyway. Except you want to start adding things like bust caging or you want to make it a corset or thereabouts. Having a standard of how to work with these designs helps a lot. So I didn't mark the dart for the zipper allowance. You just be going in by 1/2 inch for the zipper allowance. This will help to avoid poking at the zipper part. So once your client puts on the Igbo blouse, it's going to be normal. The back is going to slip and it's going to make sense. So that is just what I did here. So that's all. I'm going to go ahead to cut down now. I'll go ahead to cut my paper. I'll be shredding it, dissecting it, so that we'll be able to use it for our clothes. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and give my channel a thumbs up. So this is the part where I'm closing the bust dart. This is me closing the bust dart. Pinning the yoke together so it wouldn't lose. So after doing that, I am already placing it on my fabric. Remember, it was only the shaping I got out then. So now while placing on the fabric, I'm adding an allowance to the up part, to the sides, and to the closing, so that, and to the shaping part of the bust and the waist, so that you wouldn't end up sewing your outfit and the cloth is not the client size or the allowance is not enough. So that's what I'm doing here. So instead of adding my allowance to the paper, I'm adding it to the cloth. What I was shaping then was the client's shape. What I was marking out then was the client's shape. So this is for reference sake. So I'm done cutting them out now. This is me trying to close the darts for the yoke. Remember I talked a little bit about darts for our yoke. So this is me trying to close the darts now. I'm just going to go with another paper to trace it on, to place it on. So you close the darts and you extend. There is nothing serious on how to make this. You only close the darts and then you extend just the armhole part. That's the only thing that will be extended, and just to blend the down part as well. I'm extending it with 2 inches. I close the bust darts with 1.5 inches. Then I'm just extending the armhole as you can see me do. This is going to avoid gape and foldings on the client's yoke. Once you finish sewing the cloth, there won't be foldings on the client's outfit. So that's just what to do here. So I'm also going to place it on my cloth and cut it out. Thank you all for watching to this part. Stay tuned for part 2. We'll be showing the sewing process. Thank you all, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching.